Hey guys, welcome to class today. This is kind of exciting to give this a try and see if it's going to work. I want to remind you that it's just like any other day, even though we have a substitute in the classroom. So I expect you to sit and watch this video, pause it as you go along, do the problems, and let's see if we can get through our bell work and our practice side, and then have you guys do your assignment and put it all into Go Formative. So let's take a look at bell work today. We have a couple of ratios that we need to put in simplest form. Now, if you remember ratios, we can treat them just like fractions. And one of the best ways that we learned earlier this year to simplify a fraction is to do a cake. So we are going to use the cake today to simplify each of these ratios. I can take my 16/24 and simplify it down. I'm going to do a cake, and I know that 8 goes into 16 2 times, and 8 goes into 24 3 times. Those candles on the cake are my simplified fraction or my simplified ratio. So for 16/24, it would simply be 2/3. And I'm going to write it just like that because that's the way it's written. Now you guys are going to do the 4/14 the same way. The 7/28, even though it says 7/28, we can think of it in the same way as 7/28, just like a fraction. So I can simplify it by using a cake. 7 and 28. What does 7 goes into 7 one times? 7 times 4 is 28. And so my simplified ratio is 1/4. And I'm going to write it just the way that it started out, 1/4. And then you go ahead and try that 6/20. And then let's take a look at that 6/8 with a colon. Same thing, it can be rewritten like 6/8, which means that we can simplify it with a cake. 6 and 8, cake it. 2 goes into both, 2 times 3 and 2 times 4. So my simplified ratio is simply 3:4. Hopefully that all made sense. If we take a look at number 2, I'm going to zoom in on that, and I see that it's asking us to find each of the unit rates and circle the better by. Now remember, when I say unit rate, you say, hopefully you all said in your head, divide, because I'm simply going to take the price per 8 for the first one, or the price per 10, and try to figure out how much would it cost for 1. So a unit rate is how much is 1. So if 8 pizzas cost $12, if I were to divide 12 divided by 8, I get $1.50 per, we're going to just say pizza, little mini pizza. I can go to another store and I can buy 10 of them for $14. Is that the store I want to go to? And when I put in my calculator, 14 divided by 10, I want you guys to figure out how much per pizza that will be. You're going to be doing the math yourself, how much per pizza, and then you're going to decide which store would you rather go to. The store with the sale of 8 for $12, or the store with the sale of 10 for $14. Check out those unit rates and make the decision by which one is the cheapest pizza. Let's move on to this ratio table. We actually have a little equation, y equals x plus 2. I'm going to have some inputs and some outputs. My input is going to be x, my output is y. So if I were to substitute in 0 for this x and say 0 plus 2, that would give me the 2. And that's exactly how this is going to work. So if I were to make x 1, that would be 1 plus 2 would equal 3. So my y would be 3. If I were to put in 2 for x, what is 2 plus 2? It's 4, so y equals 4. What did we decide this one was? I erased too much, didn't I? So if if x equals 1, 1 plus 2 is 3. If x equals 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. And I want you to just, for all of those x values, we're just going to go right down the line. 0, 1, 2. You're going to pretend like x is 3. X is 4, and X is 5, and then you tell me what Y is. Now, we can actually graph this on the coordinate plane. So how do we graph? Remember, we go across the X coordinate before we go up the Y. So I'm going to start at 0 and go up 2, and this is my first dot on the coordinate plane. To graph 1, 3, I go across to 1 and up to 3. I have one more dot. And to go across to 2 and up to 4, I've got another dot. Now, I want you to continue. I want you to figure out what the Y's are and go ahead and graph them. And we are done with bell work. I need you guys to turn to page 83 in your journal. And we're going to talk a little bit about stem and leaf plots. Now, a stem and leaf plot is just a way to take these data sets that we've been looking at and display them or show them and be able to analyze them a little bit, look at the shape of distribution, and determine several things from them. But today we're basically just making a stem and leaf, figuring out how it works and what it represents. Now, stem and leaf plot, it kind of has the cross on it. This section here is called the stem, and the second section is called the leaf. And if you want to think of a plant, how a plant has a stem and then lots of leaves hanging off of it. The stem represents the tens place, and the leaf represents the ones place. So as we're making these, we're going to look at our data, we're going to line it up least to greatest, and as you can see, I've already lined up my data least to greatest, starting with 20, going all the way up to 76. You're going to want to pause the video, go ahead and number your data values all the way across so that you have them listed least to greatest. Now I'm going to look at them, and I need to represent my tens place, and I see that I have some 20s, some 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s. So for my stem, I need to have a 20, a 30, a 40, a 50, a 60, and a 70. And then I'm going to look at all of my 20s, and I'm going to represent them each data point. My 20 is a 2 represents the 20, and the 0 represents my ones. I'm going to place a 1 right there. So the 2 and a 0 equals 20. My next number is a 23. I leave my stem, my 20, and I add that 3 next to the 0, and that is representing 23. So right now on my stem and leaf, I have two numbers represented. I have a 20 and a 23. Now my next number, so I've added that 20, I added that 23. My next number is this 23. Guess what? I need another 3 for the second 23. I have another 23, and I'm going to add the 3 there. I have a 25. I'm going to add that 5. I have a 27. I need to have a 7 and another 27. Well, I have a lot of 20s. A 29. I'm going to add that 9 and another 29. So every number so far has been represented. If I look at my stem and leaf, I can count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers represented. Up above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I'm going to get into my 30s. There's only one 30 there. It's 32. So I need to add a 2 on the leaf side. So 32. The 3 represents the 30. The 2 represents the 2. My next number is a 45. I'm going to move down to my 40s, and I'm going to add a 5 to that leaf side. I also have a 49, and I will put a 9 right there. So on my 40s leaf, I have a 4 for the stem, and a 5 for 45, and a 9 for 49. I also have a 54, so I'm going to take that 54. I already have my 5 there, and I'm going to place a 4 in my leaf. I have a couple 63s. What do you guys think I'm going to do? I'm going to add a 3 and a 3 for my two 63s. I have a 4 for a 64. And finally, I have 76. I have 7 for my 10s and 6 for my 1s. So altogether, my stem and leaf is displaying my data. I see it's very heavy on the 20s. And from this information, I could use it maybe to help me find the mean by just adding up all of the data points and dividing by the number of numbers. I could find my median by looking at them lining up and determining which one's in the middle. I could easily see my mode And I can see my range. My range is from 20 all the way up to 76. I subtract those two numbers. I could even, with that data set in order, I could even try to figure out my IQR, looking for the Q1, the Q3, and minusing them. So this is what we're going to be doing today on our assignment. All right, I need you guys to turn to the practice side of 10.1. We're going to do a couple of practices of making stem and leaf plots. Here I have some data of class sizes. Some are 12, some are 21. And if I look at it, I like to find my minimum amount, which looks like a 9, and it goes all the way up to a 32. So as I start to make my stem and leaf, remember we use the word stem and leaf, and we're going to write the word stem and leaf, and that will identify which side is which. I look at my tens, of course. 9, wow, 9 is not quite 10. It actually goes into the ones. So I'm going to represent that with a 0 in my tens. I need a 1 in my tens place, and I need a 2 and a 3. I don't need to go up to 40 because there are no 40s there. I only need the numbers represented, but I need to remember that even if in this data set I had some numbers in the teens and then it skipped all the way to 30, I would still need to put a 2 down for the 20s, and I just wouldn't have any values on that leaf side. So as I look at this, in my ones places, I have a 9. It's my only 1, and then I'm moving on to my tens. Here I have a 10. 10 I represent as a 1 and a 0. I look around some more, and I have a 12, so I need a 2 for my 12. I need a 4 for my 14, a 6 for my 16, and look at that, I have a second 16. I need another 6. And then finally, oops, that's moving around, I have a 9 for my 19. I'm done with all of my 10s. I'm going to move to my 20s. I have 21, so I need to place a 1 there, and another 21 right there and right there. And I have a 25. And finally, I have a 28. And my last number, and I know I had already underlined it as I was trying to identify my biggest, largest data number, is a 32. So I'm going to put a 2 there for my 32. So there simply is my stem and leaf representing class sizes. We will put a title on it and just name it class sizes. But for practice, I want you to look at this and see, oh, I can come here and I can count up all my numbers, and I've got a 9 represented, a 10, 12, 14, 16, 16, and 19, 21, 21, 25, 28, and 32. All right, I want you guys to give number 2 a try. You can pause the video and try to do that. You would look at the data values. Let's see, highest is maybe going to be a 92. And the minimum looks like it goes down to 60. So you're going to need a 6, 7, 8, 9 on your stem. So you guys give that one a try. Coming down here at number 3, it's going to be the same way. We're going to look at it. It's just not listed in the same way, but we still look at those data values. In fact, maybe I'll do this one. I can do stem and leaf. And I look, oh, I've got a 5, and it goes up to 20. So I'm going to need a 0, a 1, and a 2. In my zeros, I have a 5, I have a 7, and I have an 8. And if you notice, I'm not putting commas between all the numbers because it's not necessary. You're never going to get into anything bigger than a 1's place on the right. And so you always know that 5 is just 5 and not 57 or 578. In my 1's place, I've got 11 and 14 and 15. And then in my 2's or my 20's place, I've got a 20 and a 22. So I can take data in a running total like that. I could take data from a little chart, and I can put them on that stem and leaf plot. Down below on this last one, this is the other thing I wanted to bring up, is stem and leaf plots have something called a key. And I think I forgot to do that in our journal. But this key just helps us to identify that a 1-4, which would be this data value there, really means 14 miles. Because if we read what this is, this stem and leaf plot shows the number of miles students travel to get to school. I can answer questions based on a stem and leaf. How many students travel more than 15 miles? Well, I'm going to take these lines off. I can look here and think, well, where is 15? If this is 5, this is 7, this is 12, this is 14, I know that all of the other numbers are more than 15. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 students travel more than 15 miles to school. That's pretty far, actually. That's pretty crazy. You guys all live so close to school. I bet the most any of you travel is 5 miles. We can take this information and we can actually find the mean, median, mode, range, and interquartile range of the data. So I can take the stem and leaf, and I am actually going to write all of these numbers down so we can take a look at it. I'm going to write down a 5, a 7, 12, 14, 18, 20, 21, 25, 27, and 33. So there's my data points. Those are all of the different miles that the students travel to get to school. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to add up all the numbers, and then we're going to divide by the number of numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 numbers. You're going to add them up, divide by the number of numbers, which is 10, to get the mean. I'm going to give you guys just a second to do that. You can pause the video. When you add them up, you should have gotten 182. We divide that by 10, and the mean becomes 18.2 miles. That's the average distance that the kids travel to school every single day. That's pretty far. All right, let's take a look at the median. Remember, the median is the middle number, and I just count right to the middle to find that. And I see that it's going to be right here between 18 and 20. Now remember, if you know that the number between 18 and 20 is 19, you can go ahead and put 19 there. Or you can add in your calculator 18 plus 20 and divide that by 2, and you'll get 19. So that is my mean, or median, sorry. That is my median. Then it also wants us to find the mode. Do you guys see a mode there anywhere? I see no numbers repeated more than once. So as far as my mode goes, the mode equals none or no mode, okay? It wants us to find the range. The range, you guys, if you remember correctly, is the maximum number, which happens to be 33, minus the minimum. So I'm going to say 33 minus 5, and when I do that, I get 28. So the range is, it ranges between 5 and 33. It's 28 miles for the range. And finally, we're going to take a look at the interquartile range. Now, the interquartile range, we need to find that median, and then we're going to find the median of the lower half and the median of the upper half. When I find the median of the lower half, it happens to be 12, and this we called our Q1. And the median of the upper half is 25, and we call that Q2. And we simply just count into the middle. And so to find the IQR, we need our 25 minus 12, and that gives us 13 miles. So the middle half of the students travel 13 miles to school each day. All right, so this is your assignment 10.1 stem and leaf plot assignment. You're going to be answering these questions. After you find all of the answers, you're going to be putting them into Go Formative. If you have any questions, the substitute is there to answer them for you. You can email me. I will be available on and off today. And we will hopefully be very successful with this. I'm hoping that you guys are able to log on, get this assignment done, get it into Coformative. I have a couple videos posted you're welcome to watch, and also a little activity that you can go to practicing making stem and leaf plots. I miss you guys. Be good for the sub today, and good luck with the assignment.